So, what did you miss at Jubilee today? Well, first Sunday in January, a little bit of Epiphany, a little bit of the visit of the Magi, but more, I think today we were looking at John's Gospel. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. The Word was God, the Word became flesh. That wonderful poetic beginning of John's Gospel. And we look back at also the very beginning of Scriptures, the first chapter in Genesis. In the beginning, when God created the world. And we looked at the comparison. We talked a little bit about this idea of creation out of nothing. Because that's what we talk about, right? Creatio ex nihilo. Creation out of nothing. As if at one time there was nothing, and then God created everything. And it's a wonderful philosophy. It's a wonderful theology. It puts God above everything, older than, bigger than, but also connected to everything. So nothing is without God, and that all is created by God. And it invites us to recognize that we are all one creation. And perhaps that can inspire love and respect. And it's good. The problem is it's hard to understand because we don't really understand what nothing is. Because for us, everything is something. So to talk about creating everything out of nothing is very difficult. And not only is it difficult, it isn't really what the scripture says. In the beginning was a formless void. Well, that's not nothing. That's something. It's just something we don't like. In the beginning it was dark. That's not nothing. It's just not light. And as you read the beginning of Genesis over again, you start to understand that God doesn't create out of nothing. God creates order out of chaos, hope out of absurdity. God brings light into darkness. And so the author of Genesis wants us to understand that that first experience of God is the experience of finding order in chaos, finding peace and tranquility in the midst of craziness. God shaped everything. It's not the same as creating out of nothing. And in fact, John's gospel, when John refers to Jesus as the Word in Greek was logos, and logos means to say, but also to put in order. To order. And so in the beginning, there is order. And there has always been order, and it's in God that we discover this order. Order means we find meaning. And when we start to think about creation as being order out of chaos, we also recognize that creation is not done. It's not a thing that happened when there was nothing and now there's something, so creation stopped. It is order out of chaos, and our lives being chaotic all the time reminds us that creation continues all the time. That's what we talked about today. Sort of a way to go into a new year. You know, when you do a puzzle and you can't solve it, you begin to think, well, this puzzle is not solvable. They've made a mistake. It can't be done. We want to give up and throw it away. But when we know that there's a solution, when we know that there's order, we will patiently go back and start from the beginning and work our way through until we find the solution to the puzzle, until we find the order in the chaos. And the promise in the gospel, the promise in Genesis, the promise that Jesus delivers is that there is always order in the chaos, that God continues to work with us, in us, around us, for us, because of us. Creation continues to happen in the midst of chaos. That's what you missed today, if you missed us at Jubilee. Hopefully we'll see you next week, and we'll look for a little more order in our chaos. Thanks. God bless.